Hi there. I've just come back from the Rebellion Week in London with Extinction Rebellion, and I had an amazing experience. And I've been really looking out for how children have been involved and what parents and other adults have been doing to support them. And I wanted to share some of that here as an update on this whole subject of supporting children in the face of climate change. And so this is particularly about involving children in activism. So I spent 4 days in London and went to the different sites that Extinction Rebellion are operating at, and it was a really positive, amazing experience in many many ways. And so what I saw was that there was a children's team, a families team, who worked so hard to. They ran activities mainly for small children, so there were loads of parents with small children there, each day on a different site with a shelter, sunshade, and a very contained place to be. And they're very experienced activities workers who were running all sorts of games, activities, craft things, um, making flags, making butterflies. Um, yeah, there was storytelling, bubble blowing. Yesterday there was a children's assembly at Parliament Square, which was amazingly held by Rowan. So she did all sorts of games and activities that got children involved in saying, what do they think we need to be doing for the planet? And they had the chance to speak on the microphone in the middle of Parliament Square to everybody who was there. They got a big audience, and children as young as 2 were saying what they think. Amazingly empowering to be so involved and so listened to. And what I saw was the power and strength of people experienced with children really consciously inviting people into a safely held and organised space. And on Waterloo Bridge, I saw the family group there just, I don't know, 30 yards behind the front line of blockade where police were coming and arresting people. But there was such a strong atmosphere of peace, and there was such strong communication and community that at no point did the young children even realise that was what was going on. And for older children who were curious, it was a really a peaceful act of determined non-violence that the police joined in with. They weren't violent; they were really calm. And I think the presence of children really created an atmosphere of community. Extinction Rebellion is very strong on regenerative culture. We're rebelling in ways that we want to show a different way of living. How do we sustain this? So there were a lot of people in charge of well-being, making sure that everybody was okay. And the atmosphere there was very much looking out for the children. So the things I saw a lot of parents doing was bringing their children with homemade cakes to give to activists who'd stayed there overnight. They brought hot cross buns, with it being Easter. They were offering water. I saw children arriving with big banners that they had painted and getting a lot of good attention and admiration from people for the artwork that they'd done and space to put those banners and have them photographed. So what I saw was that children's voices was really part of the action, and that was managed in a really safe way. The thing that thinking about it afterwards strikes me as the most crucial thing about this is the issue of safety. And I don't mean safety as in just physical safety. I mean, that is a complete minimum, and that was very much there. Physical safety of people looking out for children. There were no cars because of the blockade, and it made me realise that, of course, it made me remember that cars are one of the biggest dangers to children. And I know with my daughter, that was the thing I was most frightened of when she was small. The cars right to the road, and children's lack of ability to know that until they're old enough. So actually, what Extinction Rebellion were doing were creating huge safe spaces for children to run around on and to play on, with no cars, no pollution there being created. But more than that, it's about psychological safety. And I think that's the thing I want to pick up from my previous talks, is the knowledge that when parents are able to regulate themselves, then they can provide a safe connection for their children to regulate themselves and to feel safe and connected. So the thing that strikes me most is that when parents are able to feel calm and to have strategies for looking after themselves, and one of those strategies is to get together in community, and another is to just be very aware of how the body reacts to fear and alarm, and to have ways of calming. And I think I'll do another video to share some of those ways of calming that we can use to look after ourselves in the moment and to look after ourselves every day as a general practice. But for now, I just want to repeat what I've said before, which is that when parents and other adults are providing calm, regulated atmosphere around children, that is the most crucial thing to involving children in activism and in everyday life, of course, but this is particularly about activism. It can involve children when the adults are taking care of themselves and each other. Yeah, that's mainly what I want to say. Let me just check. Yeah. So thank you for bearing with me in that pause. I just want to make sure that I say everything I want to say. I think that's enough for now, but just to put out a lot of thanks to Extinction Rebellion for how hard they've worked to create really safe, contained, well-being space for everybody that's there. But in doing that, making children welcome, which of course is the community that we want to see. We don't want communities that are just around adults. That's what we have already. Children are excluded so much of the time from adult-based activity. And it was wonderful to see children included and welcomed and held safe by the whole community. So thank you, XR. If you're a family wondering whether to go and join the action, I'd recommend it, particularly knowing that it's a complete choice about how near you get to what's going on. Lots of space around, easy to step out of it back into the so-called normal world and go and get space, shade, food, drink, whatever. But my main advice about that is about your own, if you're a parent, is your own calmness. If you feel frightened or anxious, then it's fine not to go. You don't need to. But I'd recommend going and just having a look. And if you're watching this from other places and you're not within reach of London, then I hope you're finding ways that you can involve your children in local activism where you are, and there's people organising fantastic family-friendly events everywhere. So I will post some photographs in a minute on this page, and thanks very much for watching.